The cold metal walls of the human warship Eternal Dawn hummed with a sound that had not been heard for 300 years. Commander Li Wu-jin opened his eyes, slowly feeling the sting of the cryo-chamber fluid as it drained away from his body. His muscles ached from the long sleep, and his mind felt foggy, like trying to remember a dream that was slipping away. Around him, other cryopods were opening with soft hissing sounds. Steam rose from each chamber as warm air met the cold surfaces. 200 human souls were waking up after sleeping for 3 centuries. The last thing Wu Jin remembered was Earth burning behind them as they fled into deep space. Now he was somewhere else entirely, and he did not know where. The ship's computer spoke in the gentle voice of Dr. Park Mi-young, who had died just before they entered cryo-sleep. Her personality had been uploaded to guide them when they woke up. Commander Wu-jin, the computer said, "We have arrived at our destination coordinates, but something is wrong. The galaxy looks different than our maps show." Wu-jin pushed himself out of the cryopod, and his feet touched the deck for the first time in 300 years. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to stand. The ship around him looked exactly as he remembered: dark gray walls lined with pipes and cables that glowed with soft blue light. The Eternal Dawn had been humanity's most advanced warship when they left, but now it felt ancient and small. Other crew members were struggling out of their pods. Chief Engineer Choi Hyun-woo stumbled and almost fell, but caught himself on a nearby rail. His hair had turned white during the long sleep, which sometimes happened with cryo-freezing. Lieutenant Commander Kim Da-bin was helping younger crew members who looked confused and scared. Tactical Officer Nam Ji-ho was already checking his equipment with the focused attention of a true soldier. "We need to get to the bridge." Wu Jin said, his voice rough from not speaking. For so long, the crew around him nodded and began moving through the ship's corridors. Their boots echoed in the empty halls as they made their way to the command center. The ship felt different somehow, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. When they reached the bridge, Wu Jin sat in his command chair and activated the main view screen. What he saw made his heart stop. The space around them was filled with massive structures that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Strange ships moved between them with designs unlike anything humans had ever built. These vessels were sleek and curved with energy patterns that pulsed like living things. Dr. Park Mi-young appeared as a hologram beside his chair. Her face looked concerned. "Commander," she said, "I have been monitoring signals from these structures for the past week while you were still sleeping. The galaxy has changed completely. The human colonies we left behind are gone. New species control everything now, and they are very powerful." Wu Jin felt his stomach drop. "What happened to Earth?" he asked. "What happened to our people?" The AI paused before answering. "From what I can determine, Earth fell shortly after we left. The colonies scattered or were destroyed. Most of the human governments collapsed within 50 years. A species called the Velkari Empire now controls what used to be human space. They consider humans to be extinct." Chief Engineer Choi Hyun-woo had been checking the ship systems, and his face was pale. "Commander, our weapons and shields are working, but compared to what I am seeing out there, we are like a wooden boat facing a metal battleship. The energy readings from those alien ships are beyond anything in our databases." Lieutenant Commander Kim Da-bin was studying the sensor readings, Commander. She said there are 12 major alien empires controlling different parts of the galaxy. The Velkari are just one of them. Each empire has thousands of ships, and some of their vessels are larger than entire human cities. We are completely outnumbered and outgunned. Wu Jin stood up and walked to the main view screen. He pressed his hand against the cold surface and stared out at the alien structures. The crew watched him quietly, waiting for orders. They had followed him into exile 300 years ago, and they would follow him now, even though their situation seemed hopeless. Tactical Officer Nam Ji-ho spoke up. Commander, I am detecting something else. The long-range sensors are picking up human life signs on several worlds in this sector. They appear to be in some kind of work camps or mining facilities. The readings suggest thousands of humans are being held there, Dr. Park Me. Young nodded sadly. Commander, during my analysis of alien communications, I discovered that humans did not go completely extinct. Some survived and were taken as slaves by various alien species. They have been working in mines factories and research facilities for generations. Most of them probably do not even remember their true history. The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed this information. Their people had not just been defeated, they had been enslaved and forgotten. Wu Jin felt anger building in his chest like a fire that had been waiting 300 years to burn. Chief Engineer Choi Hyun Woo checked his equipment again. Commander, there is something else you should know. During our long journey through space, the experimental systems we installed before leaving Earth have been slowly evolving. The ship's AI has been running improvements and modifications. We are not the same vessel that left human space. What do you mean? Wu Jin asked. The engineer smiled for the first time since waking up. Commander, the Eternal. Dawn may look old, but inside we have technology that has had 3 centuries to develop. Our weapons, our shields, our engines, everything has been upgraded by systems that learned and grew while we slept. We may be outnumbered, but we are not defenseless. Lieutenant. Commander Kim Da-bin was monitoring communications traffic. Commander, she said, I am picking up transmissions from the alien fleets. They are discussing us, but they do not seem worried. One of their commanders is laughing about finding a museum piece from the extinct human race. They think we are harmless. Wu Jin turned back to his crew and saw something in their eyes that had not been there before. It was not fear or despair. It was the same determination that had driven humanity to explore the stars in the first place. These men and women had sacrificed everything to preserve their species, and now they had found their people enslaved and forgotten. Officer Han Yu-jin at the communications station reported, Commander, I am detecting a large alien fleet approaching our position. 12 ships, including one massive vessel that appears to be their flagship. They are moving slowly like they have all the time in the world. Wu Jin sat back in his command chair and smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator that had been sleeping for a very long time. 300 years ago, humanity had run from this galaxy with their tails between their legs. Now they were back and things were going to be very different. Prepare. All systems, he ordered all crew to battle stations. It is time to remind this galaxy what happens when you enslave humans. The Velkari Empire flagship Invincible Words moved through space like a giant metal mountain. Admiral Zethkaran stood on the bridge of his massive ship, looking out at the stars through windows that stretched 50 meters high. His species had ruled this part of the galaxy for 2,000 years, and no enemy had ever defeated them in battle. The Invincible Words was 15 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide. Inside its hull were weapons that could destroy entire planets and shields that had never been broken by any enemy fire. Around the flagship, 11 other dreadnoughts flew in perfect formation. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent, and their crews believed they were invincible. Admiral Zethkaran was tall and thin with gray skin that looked like metal. His 4 arms moved with practiced precision as he studied the reports from his officers. The Velkari had evolved on a world with heavy gravity, which made them strong, and their extra arms gave them advantages in combat. Their empire controlled over 300 star systems, and millions of species served them as slaves. Admiral. Korthak approached the command platform. Admiral, he said, his voice carrying the clicking sounds that all Velkari made when they spoke. Our scouts have detected a small vessel drifting in Sector 7. It appears to be very old, and its design does not match any known species in our databases. Admiral Zethkaran turned one of his large black eyes toward his subordinate. "How large is this vessel?" he asked. "The measurements show it is only 800 meters long," Sub-Admiral Korthak replied. "It is smaller than our destroyer escorts and appears to be running on minimal power. Our sensors indicate there are life forms aboard, but they seem to be inactive, possibly in some form of suspended animation." The Admiral made a sound that was the Velkari equivalent of laughter. "Such a tiny ship," he said. "The vessel is probably some lost cargo hauler or research ship from a primitive species. Have one of our destroyers capture it intact. It might have some interesting technology we can study or sell to the slave markets." Captain Yoon. So Ara sat at her station aboard the human warship Eternal Dawn, listening to the alien. Communications through the ship's translation systems. She had learned 17 different alien languages during the 300-year journey, and now she was putting those skills to use. The Velkari were discussing the human ship like it was an amusing toy they had found. Commander Wu Jin stood behind her, listening to the translated conversation. His face showed no emotion, but his hands were clenched into fists. The aliens were talking about humans like they were objects to be bought and sold. Captain Yun So-ra could see the anger building in her commander's eyes like storm clouds gathering before lightning. Lieutenant Kang Min-ho was monitoring other communication channels. "Commander," he said, "I am picking up broadcasts from the Velkari homeworlds. They are talking about humans, but not in the way we expected. According to their historical records, humans tried to fight the Velkari Empire about 200 years ago but were easily defeated. What happened to those humans?" Commander Wu Jin asked. Lieutenant Kang Min-ho looked uncomfortable. "Commander, from what I can understand, the surviving humans were taken as slaves. Most were sent to mining worlds or factory planets. The Velkari consider humans to be a weak species that is only good for manual labor. They joke about how humans gave up fighting after only a few battles." Captain Yoon. So Ara turned in her chair. "Commander, there is more. The Velkari broadcasts mention that humans are prized as slaves because they are intelligent enough to operate complex machinery, but not strong enough to rebel effectively. They say human slaves work harder when they are separated from their families and children." The bridge of the Eternal Dawn became very quiet. "Commander." Wu Jin felt something cold and hard forming in his chest. Humans had not just been defeated, they had been broken and scattered across the galaxy like animals. The aliens talked about his people the way farmers might discuss livestock on the view screen. The Velkari destroyer. World Render was approaching. It was 3 times larger than the Eternal Dawn and covered with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. The destroyer moved with the confidence of a predator that had never met anything it could not kill. Chief Engineer Choi Hyun-woo reported from the engine room, "Commander, all experimental systems are online. The ship has been upgrading itself during our 300-year journey. I am reading power levels that should not be possible for a vessel of our size. The weapons systems are showing energy outputs that exceed our original specifications by 400%. Tactical Officer Nam Ji-ho was studying his weapons console. "Commander, the aliens are not raising their shields. They are approaching us like we are completely harmless. Their weapons are powered but not targeted at us. It appears they want to capture us alive." Sub-Admiral Korthak was growing impatient aboard the World Render. The small alien ship was not responding to their signals and seemed to be powering up its engines. "We should simply destroy it." "Admiral," he said to Admiral Zethkaran over the communication link, "it is probably some primitive species trying to run away." Admiral Zethkaran disagreed. "No," he replied. "I want that ship captured intact. Any species that can travel between stars might have technology we can use. Even primitive starships sometimes contain valuable materials or information. Send a boarding party once you disable their engines." The World Render moved closer to the Eternal Dawn and activated its tractor beam. The powerful energy field reached out to grab the smaller human ship, but something unexpected happened. The beam struck the Eternal Dawn and simply stopped working. The human ships' hulls seemed to absorb the energy like it was nothing more than sunlight. "What just happened?" Captain Morthek of the World Render demanded of his crew. The engineering officer was staring at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, our tractor beam is not working. The alien ship seems to have some kind of energy absorption system that we have never encountered before." "Try the disruptor cannons." Captain Morthek ordered fire low-power shots to disable their engines. The World Render fired 3 energy bolts at the Eternal Dawn. The shots were designed to knock out the engine systems without destroying the ship. But when they hit the human vessel, something impossible happened. The energy shots were absorbed just like the tractor beam had been. The human ship glowed briefly with absorbed power, and then returned to normal. Captain Yoon. So-Ra smiled as she watched her instruments, Commander. She said, "Our adaptive armor is working perfectly. The 300 years of development have created defensive systems that can absorb and redirect any energy weapon. The aliens cannot hurt us with their current attack pattern." Commander Wu Jin walked to the center of the bridge and looked at his crew. These people had followed him into exile and slept for 3 centuries waiting for this moment. Now they faced an enemy that had enslaved their species and treated humans like animals. It was time to remind the galaxy what humans could do when they were angry. "All stations battle ready," he said quietly. "Open a channel to the alien destroyer." Lieutenant Kang Minho looked surprised. "Commander, they are not expecting us to communicate. They think we are just a primitive cargo ship, Commander." Wu Jin smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "They are about to learn how wrong they are." Commander Wu Jin stood in the center of the Eternal Dawn Bridge, watching the Velkari destroyer World Render on the main screen. The alien ship was massive and covered with weapons that could level cities, but he felt no fear. His crew had been preparing for this moment for 300 years, even while they slept. Dr. Shin Yunji sat at the science station running final checks on systems that had never been tested in combat. "Commander," she said, "the experimental phase cannons are ready. All power. Systems are showing green. The ship has been modifying itself during our journey, and I am detecting energy patterns that should not be possible." Chief Engineer Choi Hyun Woo spoke from the engine room over the communication system. "Commander, the fusion reactors are running at 200% capacity, but somehow they are stable. The ship has learned to channel power in ways we never designed. I am seeing efficiency ratings that break the laws of physics as we knew them." The bridge crew worked with calm precision that came from years of training. Lieutenant Commander Kim Da-bin was coordinating defensive systems, while Tactical Officer Nam Ji-ho prepared the weapons that humanity had built in secret before their exodus from the galaxy. Every system on the Eternal Dawn had been upgraded by artificial intelligence that had spent 3 centuries learning and improving. On the Velkari destroyer, Captain Morthek was growing frustrated. The small alien ship was not responding to their attacks, and their boarding shuttles could not get through some kind of energy field surrounding the vessel. This had never happened before in 2,000 years of Velkari conquest. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect," Captain Morthek said to Admiral Zethkaran. "The alien ship appears to have defensive technology that we do not understand. Should we call for additional ships?" Admiral Zethkaran was watching from his flagship, and his confidence was beginning to crack. One small ship should not be able to resist a Velkari destroyer, but the evidence was right in front of his eyes. "No," he replied. "Use the quantum disruptors. Those weapons can tear apart molecular bonds. Nothing can resist them." The World Render powered up its most dangerous weapons. Quantum disruptors could break apart the basic structure of matter, and no known defense could stop them. The weapons charged with deadly energy that made space itself seem to bend and twist around the destroyer. "Commander." Wu Jin saw the energy build up on his sensors. "Dr. Shin Yunji," he said, "activate the phase shift generators." Now, the science officer pressed controls that had been installed in secret before humanity left the galaxy. The eternal dawn suddenly seemed to flicker like a candle flame in the wind. For just a moment, the ship existed in two different dimensions at the same time. When the Velkari quantum disruptors fired their deadly energy, passed harmlessly through empty space where the human ship had been, the Eternal. Dawn snapped back into normal space, and Commander Wu Jin gave the order that would change galactic history: fire all weapons. He said quietly. Engineer Baek Tae Yang had spent the 300-year journey modifying the ship's power systems in ways that should have been impossible. The experimental phase cannons drew energy from dimensions that most species did not even know existed. When they fired, the space around the eternal dawn lit up like a small star being born. The Velkari destroyer, World Render, was the most advanced warship in their fleet. Its shields could stop anything their enemies had ever fired at them. But when the human phase cannons hit the destroyer, something happened that no Velkari had ever seen. The energy beams did not just break through the shields. They ignored them completely, as if the shields did not exist. Captain Morthek watched in horror as his ship began to come apart. The human weapons were tearing through the World Render like it was made of paper. Explosions bloomed along the destroyer hull, and atmosphere vented into space through holes that grew larger with each second. Impossible, he screamed at his crew. Nothing can penetrate our shields. How are they doing this? But there was no answer because the World Render was dying. The human phase cannons had found some weakness in Velkari technology that no one knew existed. The destroyer shuddered and twisted as its hull was torn open by forces it could not resist. Officer Han Yu-jin recorded everything. From the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, the destruction of the Velkari destroyer took exactly 17 seconds. From the first shot to the final explosion, the most advanced warship in the Velkari fleet was reduced to glowing debris that scattered across space like deadly rain. The silence that followed was complete. The 11 other Velkari ships stopped moving as if they could not believe what they had just witnessed. Admiral Zethkaren stared at the wreckage of his destroyer and felt something he had never experienced before in 2,000 years of conquest. Fear Commander Wu Jin looked at his crew and saw pride in their eyes. These men and women had sacrificed everything to preserve humanity, and now they had struck the first blow for their enslaved people. The experimental technology that humanity had developed in secret was working exactly as designed. Lieutenant Commander Kim Da-bin reported from her station. "Commander, I am detecting massive power buildup from the alien flagship. They are charging weapons that read as planet killers. The other ships are moving to surround us." Dr. Shin Yun-ji checked her instruments. "Commander, our adaptive armor absorbed all the energy from their previous attacks. The ship is actually stronger now than when the battle started. We have enough stored power to fight for hours." Tactical Officer Nam Ji-ho was studying the enemy formations. "Commander, the aliens are confused. They do not understand how we destroyed their ship so easily. Their formation is breaking down as they try to stay away from our weapons." Range Commander Wu Jin walked to the communication station where Lieutenant Kang Min-ho was monitoring alien transmissions. "What are they saying about us?" he asked. Lieutenant Kang Min-ho looked amazed. "Commander, they are calling us impossible. They are saying that no ship that small should have weapons that powerful. The flagship is requesting reinforcements from the Velkari home fleet. They think we might be some kind of secret weapon from a major empire." Captain Yoon So-ara had been analyzing the alien ship movements. "Commander," she said, "they are afraid. The most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy is afraid of one human ship. They have never faced anything like our technology." Before Chief Engineer Choi Hyun-woo reported that all systems were running perfectly. The 300 years of automated upgrades had turned the Eternal Dawn into something far beyond what its original designers had imagined. The ship was not just a warship anymore. It was a perfect fusion of human determination and technology that had evolved beyond normal limits. Commander Wu Jin stood at the center of his bridge and made a decision that would echo through galactic history. "Open a channel to the entire Velkari fleet," he ordered. "I want every ship to hear what I'm about to say." The communication systems of the Eternal Dawn reached out across space, connecting to every Velkari vessel in the area. What Commander Wu Jin said next would be remembered for generations. As the moment humanity announced its return to the galaxy, the sleeping giant was awake, and it was very, very angry. The communication channel opened across subspace frequencies that reached every corner of the galaxy. Commander Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn with the burning wreckage of the Velkari destroyer floating behind his ship like a warning written in fire and metal. His voice was calm and steady, but it carried the weight of 3 centuries of exile and the pain of his enslaved people. "Admiral Zeth-Karan, you and your fleet will listen carefully to what I am about to tell you." Commander Wu Jin said, his words transmitted across space to millions of alien ears. "My name is Li Wu Jin. I am a human and commander of the warship Eternal Dawn. You think humans are extinct, but you are wrong. We are very much alive." The bridge of the Velkari flagship went completely silent. Admiral Zeth-Karan stared at the communication screen with his 4 eyes wide in shock. No human had spoken to a Velkari commander as an equal for over 200 years. The last time humans had tried to fight, they had been crushed so easily that most aliens forgot they had ever been dangerous. Officer Han Yu-jin activated the ship's recording systems to capture every word of what would become known as the Declaration of Return. The message was automatically transmitted on frequencies that every major empire monitored. Within hours, every alien government in the galaxy would know that humanity had returned. 300 years ago, Commander Wu Jin continued, "We left this galaxy, not because we were defeated, but because we chose to leave. We saw what was coming and we decided to prepare for it while others thought they had won. You enslaved the humans who stayed behind, and you forgot that we existed. That was your first mistake." Lieutenant Kang Min-ho was monitoring responses from across the galaxy as Commander Wu Jin spoke. The message was being picked up by communication stations on thousands of worlds, including planets where human slaves worked in mines and factories. For the first time in centuries, humans throughout the galaxy were hearing the voice of someone who spoke for their species. Your second mistake. Admiral Zeth-Karan was thinking that humans are weak, Commander Wu Jin said as he gestured toward the wreckage of the World Render. You just lost your most advanced destroyer in 17 seconds to a single human ship. That destroyer had shields and weapons that you thought made it invincible. Now it is space debris, Captain Yoon. So Ara was translating alien responses as they came in. Commander, she said, every major empire is receiving this transmission. The Velkari home fleet is demanding to know how we destroyed their ship. The Zephani Confederation is activating their deep space monitoring stations. The Krillian Assembly is calling an emergency session of their War Council. Admiral Zeth-Karan finally found his voice after long moments of shock. Human, he said, his clicking speech filled with anger, you have destroyed one ship. Do you think this makes you powerful? My fleet has 11 dreadnoughts remaining. Each one could reduce your pathetic vessel to atoms, Commander. Wu Jin smiled, and it was the smile of someone who knew a secret that others did not. Admiral, he replied, you still do not understand what you are facing. The Eternal Dawn is not just a ship, it is a promise that we made to every human who was enslaved after we left. We promised we would return, and we promised we would remember. Dr. Shin Yoon-ji reported from the Science Station, Commander. I am detecting human life signs on over 40 worlds in this sector alone. The signals are coming from mining operations, factory planets, and research facilities. There are hundreds of thousands of humans in this region. and our transmission is reaching all of them. The words of Commander Wu Jin were indeed reaching human slaves across the galaxy. On the mining world of Kepler-7, a human named Oh Min Seok stopped his work deep underground when he heard a human voice speaking with authority for the first time in his life. The other human workers gathered around the communication device with tears in their eyes as they listened to someone who spoke for their people. We have spent 300 years learning and growing and preparing for this moment. Commander Wu Jin continued his voice, carrying across space to every human who could hear it. We did not run away. We went away to become stronger. The technology you just saw destroy your ship is only the beginning of what we have learned. On the factory world of Titan Gate, supervisor Young Da-hee was organizing her fellow workers when the transmission reached them. She had always believed that humans were meant for more than slavery, but she had never heard proof until now. The voice of Commander Wu Jin gave her people something they had not had for generations: hope. The aliens who control this galaxy have made slaves of our people, Commander Wu Jin said, and his voice grew harder like metal. Being forged in fire. They have separated children from parents. They have broken up families. They have tried to make humans forget who they are and where they came from. But we remember everything. Lieutenant Commander Kim Da-bin was monitoring the responses from alien governments across the galaxy, Commander. She said panic is spreading through every major empire. The Velkari are calling for military reinforcements. The other species are demanding explanations. The galactic stock markets are crashing. As traders realized there might be a new military power they did not know about, Admiral Zethkaran was trying to regain control of the situation. Human, he said, you are one ship against the combined fleets of 7 major empires. Even if your technology is advanced, you cannot fight the entire galaxy. You will be destroyed, Commander. Wu Jin laughed, and the sound carried across space like thunder. Admiral, you are making the same mistake that every bully makes. You think that strength comes from size and numbers. But real strength comes from having something worth fighting for, and we have 40 billion enslaved humans worth fighting for. Officer Han Yu-jin had been monitoring communications from human settlements throughout the Outer Rim, Commander. He reported, we are receiving signals from hidden human communities. I am detecting at least 50 colonies that have been hiding in asteroid fields and rogue planets. They are requesting instructions and offering support. The transmission from Commander Wu Jin was reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy. Human slaves in the research facilities of the Andorian Empire heard his words and began to remember stories their grandparents had told them about the time when humans ruled their own worlds. Human miners on the crystal worlds of the hegemony looked up at the stars and wondered if freedom was really possible. You want to know what humans learned during our 300 years in exile, Commander Wu Jin said as his ship hung in space, surrounded by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. We learned that there are things more important than survival. We learned that some things are worth dying for, and we learned how to build weapons that can turn your mighty fleets into glowing scrap metal. The communication ended and space fell silent around the eternal dawn. The 11 remaining Velkari ships held their position, uncertain of what to do next. They had just heard a declaration of war from a species they thought was extinct. Admiral Zethkaran stared at the small human ship and realized that everything he thought he knew about the galaxy had just changed. Commander Wu Jin looked at his crew and saw determination that burned like stars in their eyes. They had delivered humanity's message to the galaxy. Now it was time to see how the galaxy would respond. The Velkari flagship Invincible words slowly backed away from the human ship as Admiral Zethkaran tried to understand what had just happened. His most advanced destroyer had been destroyed in seconds by a vessel 1/10 its size, and now a single human was threatening the entire galactic order. The Admiral activated his emergency communication system and sent a priority message to every major empire in the galaxy. Admiral Zethkaran, transmitted the battle footage and Commander Wu Jin's speech to the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime. Within hours, the ruling council of 7 major empires was watching the impossible destruction of the world render over and over again, trying to understand how human technology could have advanced. So far in secret, Intelligence Director Seo Jae-min sat in his office aboard the Eternal Dawn, analyzing the flood of alien communications that followed their declaration. His translation programs worked constantly to decode messages between alien governments, and what he discovered made him both proud and worried. Commander, he reported to Wu Jin, the entire galaxy is in chaos. The Velkari Empire has declared a state of emergency and is mobilizing their reserve fleets. The Zephany Confederation is recalling all ships to defend their home systems. The Krillian Assembly has activated their ancient defense protocols that have not been used for 800 years. The alien empires were panicking, but something far more important was happening. Across the galaxy, human slaves who had heard Commander Wu Jin's speech were beginning to change. They walked with straighter backs and looked their alien masters in the eye for the first time in generations. The spark of human pride that had been buried under centuries of slavery was beginning to burn again on the mining world of Kepler-7. Omin Seok gathered the other human workers in the deep tunnels where alien overseers could not hear them. "Brothers and sisters," he said, his voice shaking with emotion, "we have spent our whole lives believing we were nothing more than tools for the aliens to use. But we just heard the voice of a free human commander fighting for us." The humans around him nodded with tears in their eyes. Many of them had never heard a human speak with such authority and confidence. Oh Min Seok continued. "The man on that ship said they remember us. He said they came back for us. Maybe we do not have to live like this forever." Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. On Titan Gate, Supervisor Young Da-hee was teaching her fellow workers about human history that had been forbidden knowledge for generations. She told them stories about Earth and about the great human colonies that had once spread across the stars. "We are not just workers," she said to the crowd of humans who had gathered to listen. "We are the children of explorers and builders and dreamers. Our ancestors traveled between the stars before these aliens ever left their home worlds. We have the same blood and the same spirit that built the great cities of Earth." The alien overseers began to notice changes immediately. Human slaves who had been obedient and broken for generations were showing signs of defiance. Workers moved more slowly and made more mistakes. Production levels dropped as humans spent time talking to each other instead of focusing on their tasks. The aliens tried to restore order with punishments, but the spark had been lit and it was spreading. Intelligence Director Seo Jae-min intercepted communications between alien security forces across the galaxy. "Commander," he reported to Wu Jin, "the aliens are reporting widespread unrest among human slave populations. They are requesting additional security forces to maintain control. Several worlds have reported organized work slowdowns and acts of sabotage." Commander Wu Jin smiled as he received this news. The declaration had done more than announce humanity return. It had reminded enslaved humans that they were part of something larger than their individual suffering. Captain Yoon So-Arie was monitoring communications from human settlements, and the reports she received were encouraging. "Commander," she said, "we are receiving signals from human communities throughout the Outer Rim settlements that have been hiding for centuries are making contact. They report populations in the hundreds of thousands and shipbuilding capabilities that have been concealed from alien detection." The hidden human settlements had never completely given up hope. During the 3 centuries since the Great Exodus, they had survived in asteroid fields and on rogue planets far from alien shipping lanes. They had built ships and weapons in secret always, believing that someday they would be needed. Now that day had come. Captain Lee Jun-gi commanded a hidden human base inside the Aurora asteroid field. When he received the transmission from the Eternal Dawn, he activated communication systems that had been silent for decades. Within hours, he was in contact with 50 other hidden human settlements scattered across the Galaxy Communications Officer Park. Ye Jin was coordinating the flood of messages from human communities. "Commander," she reported, "the hidden settlements have been preparing for this day. They have shipyards, weapons, manufacturing, and trained military personnel. The total population of free humans is much larger than we thought. The alien empires were discovering that their intelligence about human extinction had been completely wrong. Hidden human settlements were activating communication beacons and revealing themselves for the first time in centuries. The aliens realized they had been blind to a growing human resistance movement that had been building strength. While they thought the species was defeated, Admiral Zeth Karen received reports from Velkari intelligence that made his worst fears come true. Admiral, a junior officer, reported, "Our deep space monitors are detecting human ship signatures throughout the outer rim sectors. They appear to have bases and construction facilities that we never knew existed." How many ships, the Admiral demanded. The intelligence officer consulted his data screens. "Admiral, we estimate at least 500 vessels of various sizes have become active in the past day. Many appear to be recently constructed using advanced technology similar to what we saw from the human ship that destroyed the world render." The Galactic Council on Nexus Prime convened an emergency session as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The representatives of 7 major empires sat in their great chamber, trying to understand how humans had become a threat again after being dismissed as extinct for 2 centuries. Chancellor Vorthak of the Zephani Confederation stood to address the council. "This changes everything," he declared. "If humans have been building fleets in secret while we thought they were gone, then we have been strategically blind for 3 centuries. We must assume they have been planning for exactly this moment." General Krex of the Hegemony Military Command agreed. The human commander's speech was not just a declaration of war, it was a signal to human resistance cells across the galaxy. "We are seeing coordinated uprisings on 47 worlds and the appearance of hidden human fleets. Our intelligence completely failed to detect this buildup." The council members looked at each other with growing fear. They had built their empires on the assumption that humans were a broken species suitable only for slave labor. Now they were discovering that humanity had never truly been defeated, only hidden and preparing. Commander Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching the alien fleet that still surrounded his ship, but no longer seemed confident of victory. The galaxy was waking up to the reality that humans had returned stronger and more dangerous than ever before. Dr. Shin Yun-ji reported that they were receiving thousands of communications from humans across the galaxy. The enslaved were finding hope, and the free were joining the fight. The 300-year exile was over, and humanity was ready to reclaim its place among the stars. The storm that would reshape the galaxy had begun. The galaxy was mobilizing for the largest war it had seen in over 1,000 years. 7 major alien empires were calling up their reserve fleets and activating defense protocols that had not been used since the ancient conquest wars. Admiral Zeth Karan transmitted urgent requests for reinforcements as his remaining 11 ships maintained a careful distance from the human vessel that had shattered their confidence. On the command center of Nexus Prime, Supreme Chancellor Morvac addressed the combined leadership of the galactic empires. "The humans have revealed themselves as a major threat," he announced to the assembled alien leaders. "We must respond with overwhelming force before they can coordinate their hidden fleets and liberate more of their enslaved population." General Krex of the Hegemony stood up from his seat. "We have identified over 300 human settlements that were completely unknown to our intelligence services. These bases have been building ships and weapons. While we thought the species was extinct, our military advantage may not be as large as we believed." The Zephany representative Chancellor Vorthak activated a holographic display showing star charts marked with new human activity. "The uprising is spreading faster than we can contain it," he said. "Human slaves on 49 worlds are now in open rebellion, and more are joining every hour. If we do not act quickly, we will lose control of entire sectors. Commander Wu Jin received these intelligence reports through intercepted alien communications and felt grim satisfaction. The plan that humanity had developed during their 3 centuries of exile was working exactly as designed. The aliens had grown comfortable thinking humans were defeated, and now they were discovering how wrong they had been. Captain Lee Jun-gi contacted the Eternal Dawn from his hidden base in the Aurora asteroid field. "Commander Wu Jin," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "We have been waiting 300 years for this moment. Our shipyards have been producing vessels based on the same experimental technology your ship carries. We have over 200 warships ready for combat communications." Officer Park Ye-jin was coordinating with human settlements across the galaxy. "Commander," she reported, "we now have contact with 137 hidden human bases. The total fleet strength available is over 800 ships, ranging from destroyers to battlecruisers. All have been upgraded with the advanced technology that evolved during our exile." The hidden human fleets had spent 3 centuries preparing for this war. While the aliens thought humanity was extinct, the surviving free humans had been building and planning and waiting. For the right moment, they had studied alien tactics and technology and designed their ships specifically to counter the weapons and defenses of their enemies. Dr. Shin Yun-ji was analyzing the strategic situation from her science station commander. "The alien empires are mobilizing approximately 5,000 ships for this conflict, but they are spread across hundreds of star systems. Our forces are much smaller, but we have the advantage of coordination and superior technology intelligence." Director Seo Jae-min had been monitoring alien military communications for days. "Commander," he reported, "the enemy fleets are having difficulty coordinating their response. They have not fought a major war in centuries, and their command structures are not prepared for this kind of conflict. Many of their ships use outdated technology that was designed to fight other alien species, not humans." The alien empires were discovering that their military was not as ready for war as they had believed. Most of their conflicts in recent centuries had been small police actions against primitive species or rebellious colonies. They had grown soft and overconfident, while humanity had spent every day of their exile preparing for this exact scenario on the mining world of Kepler-7 Oh-min-seok was leading his fellow humans in coordinated resistance against their alien overseers. The mine supervisors had called for security reinforcements, but the humans had taken control of the communication systems and heavy mining equipment that could be converted into weapons. "We are not slaves anymore," he told the crowd of human workers who had gathered in the main mining chamber. "We are soldiers fighting for our freedom. The commander on that ship said they came back for us. Now we have to show them we are worth fighting for." Similar uprisings were happening across the galaxy. Human slaves who had seemed broken and defeated for generations were revealing that they had maintained secret communication, networks, and resistance cells. The aliens had never realized how much hatred and determination had been building beneath the surface of apparent obedience. Jung Da-hee had organized the human workers on Titan Gate into an effective fighting force, using their knowledge of the factory systems against their former masters. The aliens, who had treated humans as nothing more than clever animals, were shocked to discover they were facing coordinated military action. The factory supervisors sent desperate messages to their government. "We need immediate military support. The humans have taken control of the manufacturing complex and are converting production lines to make weapons. We believe they have been planning this rebellion for years." Commander Wu Jin stood on his bridge watching the tactical displays that showed the growing conflict across the galaxy. Humans were fighting on dozens of worlds while hidden fleets moved toward strategic positions. The 300-year plan was reaching. Its climax, Lieutenant Commander Kim Da-bin reported the latest intelligence. Commander, the alien fleets are converging on our position from 7 different directions. They plan to destroy us before we can coordinate with the other human forces. The largest enemy fleet has over 1,000 ships and will arrive in 18 hours. Tactical Officer Namji Ho was studying the enemy formation. Commander, our tactical analysis shows that the alien fleets are using outdated combat doctrines. They expect to fight the same kind of war they have always fought. But our technology and tactics have evolved far beyond anything they understand, Chief Engineer Choi Hyun-woo reported from the engine room. Commander, all systems are operating at peak efficiency. The ship has absorbed so much energy from the alien attacks that our power reserves are actually higher than when the battle started. We are ready for whatever they bring against us, the alien fleets that were converging on the Eternal. Dawn represented the largest military force assembled in galactic history. But Commander Wu Jin and his crew were not afraid. They had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment, and every system on their ship had been designed specifically. To fight this kind of battle, Officer Han Yu-jin received a priority communication from Earth Command, a signal that had been traveling toward them for 300 years. Commander, he said, the message is from the original Earth Defense Council. It contains activation codes for contingency plans that were set in motion when we left the galaxy. The message revealed that humanity had prepared for this war even before they left the galaxy. Hidden weapon caches and automated defense systems had been placed throughout space waiting for the right moment to activate. Now those systems were coming online after 3 centuries of silence. Dr. Shin Yun-ji was amazed by what the deep space sensors were detecting. Commander, automated human defense. Platforms are activating throughout this sector. They appear to have been hidden in asteroids and derelict space stations for 300 years. The aliens never knew they were there. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had never really been defeated. They had only been waiting for the right moment to remind everyone what happened when you enslaved the human race. The storm was gathering, and at its center stood one small ship with a crew that had refused to give up hope. Commander Wu Jin looked at his officers and saw the determination that had carried humanity across the galaxy and through 3 centuries of exile. We came back for them, he said quietly. Now let us show the galaxy what humans do to those who enslave our people. The final battle was about to begin.